Binty sighed an enormous sigh of relief as she took off her dressing gown and hung it on a peg attached to the back of her bedroom door. It had certainly been an eventful day for her, and she was not sorry to see the back of it. 3 seconds after her head hit the pillow, she was in the land of Nod. No sheep were required to send her there on this occasion. She was awakened from her slumber by what she assumed to be an injured cat beneath her bedroom window. Burying her head underneath her pillow, she tried to drift back to sleep. The caterwailing continued and was still audible despite being somewhat muffled by the pillow. Binty became agitated by the disturbance, especially when a guitar was added to the mix. Flinging back the duvet, she quickly rose from her bed and walked towards the bedroom window. Peering out into the darkness, she was stunned to see the Hobbit standing beneath her window, guitar in hand. He appeared to be serenading her in full voice. "Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the hobbits and trolls like to play." Pushing up the sash window, Binty let out an angry "shh," hoping to stop the impromptu performance. It didn't work, as the Hobbit started on the chorus. "Home, home on the range." Binty was mortified. "Please stop," she pleaded. The Hobbit obeyed. "What did you want?" she asked, exasperated more than being scared. "I want to make you happy," replied the Hobbit. "Then please go home. That would make me very happy," Binty implored him. Much to Binty's surprise, the Hobbit nodded his head, gave a wry smile, turned and disappeared into the night. Binty stood for a while, confused as to what had just happened. "How very odd," she spoke out loud to nobody in particular, as she was in fact alone in her bedroom. She slept fitfully, in and out of surreal dreams. Each dream, however, had a main character: the Hobbit. The following morning, Binty could be seen cycling along the winding roads of Twitterville on her journey to the gym. Despite her escalating years, Binty prided herself on her fitness. It was leg day, and she was looking forward to exercising her leg muscles till they throbbed. It had been a long time since anything had throbbed for her, excluding the time she mistimed her leap of faith over the revolving entry bar on her last visit to the local swimming pool. As she neared Fit Freak's gym on the edge of town, she noticed a sign pinned to a tree. Cycling closer to it, she strained her eyes in order to read it. It read, "Avoid. Do not approach." Peering more intently at the poster, she had an uneasy feeling that she may have seen that ugly, unkempt face before. But try as she may, she couldn't remember where or when. She said to herself, then continued on her journey, whilst pondering why the face that stared back at her looked so familiar. Binty was relieved. Shall we do that again, guys? Binty was relieved to find the gym relatively quiet. She hated it when there were other people puffing and panting and grunting and blowing alongside her. As she walked towards the rowing machine, she tripped on an abandoned water bottle and face-planted into the tiled floor tiles, narrowly missing a bench press. I think I must be tired, guys. Anyway, let's carry on. Oh, there you are! See, I've read it all wrong now. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Okay, let's go. She turned her head to see. Jesus! It was all going so well. 8 minutes in and not one mistake. So let's start at the beginning, shall we? As she walked towards where the rowing machines were, she tripped on an abandoned water bottle and face planted into the floor tiles, narrowly missing a bench press. "Oh, there it is!" came a familiar voice. She turned her head to see the Hobbit bending down to retrieve the bottle that had caused her downfall. "Hey, Bint! How you doing?" he called from across the room, from where the bottle had catapulted itself. She hung her head in total embarrassment as she rose to her feet. "What are you doing here?" was all she could muster. The Hobbit then went on to explain that him and his buddies were able to use the showers at the gym as there were no public showers in Trollton. In return, they were given chores such as descouring and removing hairs from shower trays, wiping surplus sweat marks from various pieces of gym equipment, and keeping an eye out for undesirables who may harass women gym members. Minty's mind whirled like a Catherine wheel as she saw the irony in the last job description. "Time to work on these bad boys," Binty said as she slapped her hefty thighs and walked over to the rowing machines. About 5 minutes. Adjusted. Gone wrong again, guys. Okay, just ignore that last bit. After 5 minutes adjusting the settings, she was envisaging herself rowing down the Hudson River, wind in her hair on a warm summer's day. In reality, she was grunting and snorting like a disgruntled pig as she struggled to pull back the bar on the machine. Her exertion was interspersed with outbreaks of vape-induced coughing fits, but she was determined to finish the allotted time programmed into the equipment. Her heart raced, her specs steamed up, and her perspiration levels hit an all-time high as she finally reached her goal. letting out an enormous chunder. Her exhausted body leant forward in utter relief, totally spent of all energy, breathing slowly through her nose and out of her mouth, like, you know, like when you sort of run a long race. Anyway, she tried to centre herself. Oh my stars! Came a thunderous howl from across the gym. Binty was jolted from her calming routine and looked over to see a lump of a human being hanging from the high rings. She stared in disbelief, not just at the huge spectacle hanging by his fingertips, but by the conundrum of how the hell he got up there. She quickly realised she would be of absolutely no use in this situation, so instead she chose to bend forward once again. All of a sudden there was a humongous rumble as a section of the ceiling above the hanging rings crumpled and cracked under the weight of the hollering, howling imbecile. It was howling, guys, like really howling and hollering. The ensuing chaos culminated in a thunderous roar as the damaged individual and ceiling crashed onto the floor like a sledgehammer hitting a pane of glass. Clumps of fallen ceiling tiles and plaster dispersed around the floor, along with the fallen rings. Some actually landed on top of the lump, the very hairy lump. She tried desperately to ignore what was going on. It was all very quiet now. She could just hear a few groans in the background, but nobody seemed to be coming to his aid. But she thought, if I just stay here, if I hide behind this wall, then he won't know I'm here. All of a sudden she heard, "Oi! Oi! You over there! Come and get me! I've fallen! Oh my stars! It's a disaster!" Reluctantly, she got off the machine and walked over, moving some of the pieces of the ceiling as she walked along. She finally got to the lump on the floor. "Are you all right?" she said. What did it look like? Am I all right? Of course I'm not all right. Look at me! Look at me, woman! Well, it's a bit rude. You've talked to me like that, do you? I've come over to help. Just wondered if you're okay. Have you injured anything? Is there anything hurting? Everything's hurting! You stupid woman! As she looked closer at the fallen ape on the floor, she suddenly realised where she'd seen him before. His pink wig had fallen to one side, and she realised it was that picture that she'd seen. It was the same guy. Oh my God. As he lay in the rubble, like a beached whale, Binty knew that she had to get away. She had to get away quickly. So she said to him, "I'm going to go and get help because I can't help you in any way." And he just screamed even more obscenities at her. So she grabbed her towel and left. She ran into the changing rooms and quickly, didn't even bother having a shower, guys. She was just so scared of this guy. So she then left, jumped on her cycle and rode as fast as she could back home. As she skidded into her driveway, her heart was beating like the fastest African drums. She was so scared. So she shut the gate behind her and then went indoors. She sighed the biggest sigh of relief as she leaned her back against the front door and thought, how the hell did that happen? She really was very scared. So, best thing to do, she went into the kitchen, made herself a nice hot cup of tea. English tea. That night, oh God, isn't that awful when you get a frog in your throat when you're trying to speak? Anyway, so that night, Binty went to bed early, but she kept having these dreams that were very disturbing for her. She kept seeing the face of the baboon at the gym. So she woke every couple of hours, sweating like a pig. The following morning, Binty was up and out. After her breakfast of poached eggs on toast, she decided to go for a walk. She needed to go to the corner shop because she'd run out of pins to keep her hair in place and the extensions just weren't cutting it. So as she walked along, looking at the other houses and smiling at the neighbours, it was always such a shame because none of them would wave back, guys. So she just sort of carried on pretending that it hadn't happened and that the girl on the bike hadn't given her the bird, or the birdie. She liked living in Trollton. Actually, no, she didn't live in Trollton. She lived in Twitterville. Jan, will you buck your ideas up? This story is getting worse. You haven't even got to the good bits yet. We will get to the good bits, guys. Trust me. Okay, let's start again. She enjoyed living in Twitterville. One of the reasons that she liked it so much is that the houses were all so different. Hers sort of, was fairly unique. It suited her to a T. But she did still like seeing all the other houses and the colours that people chose to paint their houses. And of course, there were plenty of pathways for her to ride her bicycle. She never regretted moving. She loved it there and hoped that one day people would say hello to her in the street, would say, "Hello, Binty, how are you?" instead of hurrying inside their abodes. She wasn't quite sure why that happened. But never mind, such is life, she thought. It was only on the way back that she realised how much her legs had suffered after her visit to the gym the previous day. They were very heavy and she actually struggled to walk up the hill to her home. She was very nearly home when suddenly she heard footsteps behind her. She looked behind and there stood the Hobbit. This Hobbit gets everywhere, guys. Everywhere Binty goes, Hobbit's there. I wonder what's going to happen. I think I'm going to have to wait until the next one to find out what happens with them. I don't want to spoil it. We have to take our time when we're reading books, you know. So anyway, she turns around and there's the Hobbit. "Hello, Bint," he said. "Can I hold your bag?" Yeah, okay, that's very kind of you," said Binty, and gave him her bag that carried the hair clips. So, I mean, it was a tiny bag, but she thought, why not? He offered, why not? So they carried on the walk to her house together. Binty felt somewhat obliged to invite him in. He accepted, and Binty's heart sank. "Let me get you a cup of tea," said Binty. "That'd be very nice," said the Hobbit. So he trundled behind her as she went into the kitchen. She was a star of... No, she wasn't a star. She enjoyed watching cooking videos. And one of the cooking videos that she liked, or one of the people that she liked to watch, was called Kay. She had this channel on YouTube and basically couldn't cook. She was bloody rubbish at it. But it tickled Binty's sense of humour. So she put that on in the background as her and the Hobbit sat down to enjoy a nice cup of coffee. Unfortunately, she could only see 10 minutes of it because the Hobbit would not stop talking. He bragged about all the women that he'd been with and all the men he wanted to be with. And Binty just couldn't get into Kay's cooking. So eventually she turned it off in defeat. This Hobbit was growing on her and she couldn't understand why. Why? He wasn't attractive in any way. He was a short ass and he didn't have very much hair on his head. But there was something that... she found... Did she find him attractive? I don't know. What do you think? Anyway, I think we're going to end the story now. And just make sure that you click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, so that when we carry on with this story, you'll get notified about it. And I tell you what, there's so much that's going to happen in this story. It's amazing. I'm so happy the library had it, because I've been trying to find something really interesting to read for some time. And when I saw that Twitterville Tales had brought out even more books, I was delighted. And I hope that you will also enjoy more tales from Twitterville and Trollton. In the meantime, I want to say thank you so much for listening in. Please click the... We've already done the clicking bit, haven't we? Yeah, anyway, you take care of yourselves out there, because it's a rotten old world. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.